Hi, I'm Ross Henderson, Managing Director of 72andSunny Singapore. I'm here and pleasure to be joined by Sam Fielding. If you'd like to introduce yourself, Sam, that'd be great.
I would love to, yeah. My name is Sam Fielding and I have the privilege of managing the Tiger brand for Heineken.
Awesome. I have the privilege of working with Sam on that Tiger brand from 72andSunny. It's a new relationship. Super excited to be chatting to you today. We're coming to you guys live from Sport Beach in Cannes. It's quite hot, but I'd say probably hotter than Singapore, and that's saying something. We're celebrating today and this whole week at Sport Beach, the intersection of sport, culture, and fandom. So let's get into it, Sam, if you're good.
Let's do it.
All right. So we're, as you know, we're really excited to be partnering with you guys and working together across some of the incredible Heineken brands, Tiger being our main one, my main focus.
The best, yeah.
The best, yeah, that's right. What stood out to you about 72andSunny is about Stagwell during the pitch process? So I'd love to hear your kind of standout thoughts of us.
I think I kind of, I'll always use three criteria to assess and judge when I'm looking at agencies, and very simply it's around strategy and planning, creativity, and then perhaps the softer side, but I think really important stuff around chemistry. And what I loved about the Stagwell presentations was the kind of strategy where it went from really compelling insight through to really good structured comms planning. So I think that's something that we're definitely looking for and I think need on the Tiger brand as we move forward. I think the other thing that I loved was some of the creativity. I mean, and what I think I really liked was, I don't think I saw a TV script, which I think is very unusual. It shouldn't be, but it is. So I love that it felt very kind of culture, social, digital native, which I think is increasingly important for all of our brands, but particularly for Tiger Beer. And then, I have to say, sometimes you just get a sense of the people, the chemistry, the energy in the room, and I thought it was very, very good across all of the brands. But because we didn't talk specifically about Tiger, but I could see the love, the passion, the attention that went into the work, and I think that's all you can ask for from an agency. So I think those three things were pretty good. And here we are.
Yeah, here we are indeed. Yeah, I'm very happy that that's the case. Happy to be here. When you think about Tiger's next chapter, and basically what we're going to be working on together, what gets you most excited about that and what the opportunity ahead of us?
I'll probably talk a little bit about Tiger's next chapter and then how that kind of links to our new partnership. So I think in terms of the journey we've got to go on Tiger, in truth it's probably one that's a little bit about looking backwards. Tiger has always been a brand, particularly in Asia, but I think more broadly, a brand that has shaped and defined culture. It's very progressive, it's very kind of forward thinking. And I think over the last few years, and for very, very understandable reasons, we've lost a little bit of our swagger, if I'm allowed to call it that, a little bit of who we are, what we're about, the role we play in the category and culture. So we've actually gone back and done a bit of work to say, look, how do we get back to when we really were truly legendary as a brand, and really re-excited ourselves around that. So that that as a brief is amazing. Like just getting back to doing really cool stuff that shapes conversation, shapes culture. And I think linking to what I liked about Stagwell in the pitch process, I think you guys are going to be so capable of kind of bringing those really fresh culture-based insights, audience insights that maybe we don't see or miss, will help us really get closer across Asia. I know we talk about it as a region, but and it's arguably one of the most complex in terms of how nuanced markets are.
I agree, yeah.
So I think that will be really, really foundational in terms of delivering that transformation and getting back to what's great. And then I think how we deliver that in ways that feel interesting and relevant and close to consumers through what aren't emerging channels anymore, are probably quite standard, but we're still perhaps a little bit behind in those areas. So I think Stagwell will really accelerate that journey for us. So I'm super excited about that.
Thank you, Sam. Yeah, I mean, finding ways to show up in people's lives in authentic ways as opposed to just putting forth a message that we as a brand want to say, that is what Tiger is capable of doing, and hopefully we are the partner to do that for you.
Yeah.
So Tiger's always stood for progress, ambition, and importantly, courage. As consumer culture continues to evolve, how do you think keeping those values relevant for a new generation without losing what made the brand distinctive in the first place? How do you think we do that? What do you think Tiger needs to do?
I guess for me, there's 2 points there. There's one, being clear who you are and what you're about, and being able to express that simply, and then do it in a way that feels modern and relevant. And actually listening to a couple of the presentations yesterday, in particular the Ritson and Byron Sharp session, they talked a lot about being able to really simply encapsulate what your brand is about, and really at the heart of the Tiger brand and the region in Asia, it's about courage, and it's about making those courageous moves forward in life, and that's something that we celebrate as a brand and really stand for. And I think, again, we've gone back to and really grabbed hold of that now, and we'll be very single-minded about it, which I think in terms of consistency, simplicity, etc., I think is important. And then in terms of how we then make that relevant today, of course courage has changed, and it actually is quite nuanced across markets in Asia. So I think what you'll help us with is kind of understanding how a courage shows up in different ways across markets. I think you'll help us in terms of how we express it in meaningful ways, in the right context, in the right media touch points. And then from what I saw on the pitch, I think you'll do it with I hope in very disruptive ways, and ways that I think will probably make us feel a bit uncomfortable when we first see the work.
We like discomfort.
But I think that's what, that for me is what great creativity is about, because I think as clients, we can tend to default to safe and conservative. We need partners who are going to push us, and particularly for a brand like Tiger that has been built on a very defiant, we can do attitude. I think we need a partner that's going to step up and kind of live that value. So that's where I think you'll help us a lot.
Nice. Final question. Okay. Heineken's long been one of the most sophisticated players in sports marketing globally. If we look at, for example, whether it's Champions League or F1 from Heineken, specifically at Tiger, looking at the work done with Tottenham Hotspur, dear to my heart, Man United, for better or for worse, street football, other activations. As you look to the future of partnerships and sponsorships, what do you think separates the brands that become part of the experience from the brands that simply sponsor those experiences?
Well, we saw some. We were very lucky this morning. We had a curated session by Cannes that talked to us about the best work and some of the themes coming through. And one of the presenters said something that I just think is unbelievably powerful. As a brand, you should think about how you can either be useful or entertaining. Okay. And I think that's the approach we should take to anything we do on the Tiger brand in terms of brand building, but particularly in this area of sport where it's unbelievably passion-based. How are you showing up in this space in a way that's either useful, entertaining, or ideally both? And I think we've started well on some of our partnerships, particularly with Manchester United, with Tottenham Hotspur. I'm a Liverpool fan, so it's a little bit more difficult, but we have amazing relationships with the clubs. But even those relationships are changing, and how we work with them is changing because of these two principles. Because I think badging is something that obviously happens a lot. I think consumers these days are so savvy, they see through that. I don't think they give you a lot in return if that's the sort of approach you take to your activity. So I think, for me, and I'll keep using the phrase, like helping us build assets, content, creative that is either useful or entertaining is going to be what we do. And I think actually we are starting to do it. We've done some amazing work in Myanmar, which I loved, and it wasn't me, it was my predecessor, but I stepped in, saw the work where in Myanmar, for the reasons of military curfew, fans felt distant from football because the game happened in the middle of the night, but you couldn't be out in the middle of the night. Bars, things weren't open. So we had this amazing idea of creating curfew hostels where we would take over the whole hostel, and you could book in and come and see the games with your friends and celebrate the game with like-minded people, friends, etc. Which I just think that for me feels unbelievably useful,
Yeah.
but it also feels entertaining as a really kind of interesting way into playing a role. So
and hats off to the team for sticking at it and developing it. Good for them. At 72andSunny, we always say creativity is a team sport. In a sentence, from your perspective, what does it take for a winning agency-client partnership?
In a sentence. That's the toughest of all.
Yeah. The elevator version.
Yeah, I think, look, we have to be in partnership to do amazing things, solve business problems together, and take risks. I think a great agency partner will push, provoke, and create tension that that leads to something amazing.
Awesome.
And that's what I hope we get from the partnership. I'm confident we will.
I'm also very confident we will. Thank you so much, Sam. Thanks for your time. And that's all for now. So please follow us on socials as we enjoy everything that Sport Beach has to offer this week in Cannes and beyond. Thanks, guys.